Hi guys, welcome back to the Head Falconer, and welcome back to a chilly one this time. So we're inside, I'm inside the house, and it's all about equipment today. So equipment making, what we have to do to be able to fly and work our birds, or one of the things we have to do to be able to fly and work our birds. I make most of my own equipment. We do our own lures, jesses, anklets, flying straps, flying jesses. I've done a bag before, but to be honest I buy them in. People that do it as a job to make bags are better than me. The gloves, done one before just to say I've done it, but again we buy our gloves in. We do buy in anklets from a big eagle, but we'll explain that in another video. So most of the time we do our own equipment making. There is obviously lots of different ways out there how people do it, different styles of jesses and so on, but I was taught this when I first started, so back in 1997 I first taught this, and I still use it till this day. So we're going to show you it today, how we make them, and then we'll show you putting on a bird, because we've got a couple of birds that we have to grab and put some equipment on. So the first thing for equipment making, there is different materials out there. I use braids as well. I also use paracord. I'll show you that in another video, but most of my equipment is made out of leather. So we use kangaroo. So we've got two types of kangaroo, two different bits here. I think it's normally like a 1.2 mil that we use. So this is my good stuff, so I won't be doing that today. I use my good stuff when I put equipment on the birds. I use this stuff here to make my lures, or to train on, to practice, to show people what to do. First thing you've got to realise, or first thing you've got to recognise with leather, is that it's got a stretchy weight and a hardly non-stretchy weight. So we do it on this piece here. So you can see that hardly moves, that moves a lot. So if I was to cut my jesses out of this piece here, down this way, which stretches and moves, you'll find the bird will actually jump, or could jump, and the jess would stretch. This way, there's no play on it at all, hardly any play. So that's the way we cut our jesses out of. So this is just a very, very thin kangaroo. We use this for things like my kestrel, my aplomado. We do tend to use it on the owls, but I've got to admit, my owls, if they get a bit pecky or chewy, they chew on them, the straps, this can come off so easily. So it's mainly just my little kestrels I use it on. So the first thing you have to do is very, very simple, very easy. We need to obviously cut it. So again, cut it the right way. So that's hardly got play, that's got play. And we use a ruler just to cut it. I don't tend to measure the thickness of my jesses. So today I'm just going to make a standard size one for thickness for the Harris hawks. So I'll measure it for you in a second, but I tend to do it by eye. And I've been told off. I've worked at a place before and I was told off for doing this, because what I do, you may notice, I'm cutting it literally the full length of the ruler, and also you've got to make sure each of them are the same thickness. So I'm cutting the piece of leather the same length as my 30 centimetre ruler. Obviously my jesses will not end up 30 centimetres long, but I was told off for the simple reason is, when I make my jesses, I actually cut a bit off the end. And it's only sometimes, when I cut off the end, sometimes it's only, like I said, a centimetre, 5 mils, depending on what the leather was. But I was told off for wasting leather. But I was also taught, you can always take off, but you can't add. Hence why I cut it at a 30 centimetre, well, just use the ruler, just use the length of the ruler and cut my leather. And that's a rule that I do for my Harrises, my falcons, or my hawks, my falcons, my buzzards. Obviously eagles get slightly longer, but standard size, that's the length I cut them out of the leather. And to give you an idea how thick they actually are, we're looking at, for people that are interested, I've got 12 mil there. So this one here is going to be a flying jess, so it's a little bit thinner. So we've got a 10 mil. So like I say, if you're doing it, if you're making a set, you need to make them the same thickness, but I make my jesses a little bit thicker sometimes, or most of the time, than my flying jess, but we'll explain the difference between that. So first thing you do, very, very simple, very easy, you put a point on the end. So we just point up, we'll do the same again with this one, stick a point on the end. Obviously there's tools out there, you can, like say, press out jesses and so on. Again, I was showing this back in '97, so this is how I do it, and this is what I've always done. Right, this is the stage now. If I was going to put them on a bird, I would grease them up. Some people will make the jess up and then grease. I've always greased then make it up, because when you put the folds in, you can't always get the grease into the folds. So there's also lots of different types of leather dress or grease out there for your jesses. I used to make my own. I did it with an old Philip Glacier recipe in his book. So I made that. I got the measurement wrong. So I made literally loads of it, and it lasted me until around about 7 years ago. And then there is people out there that use different ones, and I've used different leather grease and so on, but I find this one here, EFAX, or as I always remember, FX, but it's not, it's EFAX. This is the stuff that I use. It keeps the leather supple, it doesn't rot the leather, and stitches for gloves doesn't rot that. So I get this just off the internet, normally off eBay to be honest. So EFAX is what I use. So this is where I would normally grease up, but not today. What I'm going to do now is make a button on the end. So when you put it through the eyelet, we'll show you that on the bird, when you put it through the eyelet, it doesn't get pulled all the way through. Hence why I've got a point on it. But it's an important thing you've got to know about leather before you actually do this. Obviously you've got the rough side and you've got the smooth side. When you do your button, you want your first fold rough side to rough side. So if I do it down here, you want it so rough, smooth. So you want it rough side to rough side, and it depends on what size of eyelet you use depending on how big you want the button. So again, it's standard just for the Harrises. So we'll do 1 fold, 2 folds, let's do 3. It's important that the folds are nice and tight. And then you get your hole punch, and then all you have to do is punch a hole directly straight through. Put it in here again, so there's your leather, punch it directly through every single layer. So here we go. So push it all the way through, then do a little twist to make sure, bring it out. Now we have a hole all the way through. All you do, very, very simple, very easy, you get your tail, bring it up. A little trick I do is I tend to fold the end a little bit, just to make it a little bit narrower, push it through the hole, and this is where if you greased it, it does a little bit, it goes through a little bit easier, and then pull. So that's it. So there's your Jess. So that is your Jess. Obviously a bit longer than I would normally make it, but we'll cut it down in a second. So there's your Jess. That is what you call a flying Jess. So that's what I was going to make this into. That's a flying Jess. So a flying Jess is what, you take out what you call a Muse Jess, you take that out the bird and you put a flying Jess in, because it's got no slits, no holes, no nothing in it. But to turn it into a Muse Jess is actually very, very simple, very easy. What you do is you cut it down to the length you want. So roughly, again, I'm not measuring it, so roughly that's how big I want my Jess. So again, I'm not taking much off. I've hardly taken any leather off at all, but you can always take off, you can't add. So that goes to the side. Now we have, again, a flying Jess or a hunting Jess, but I want to turn it into a Muse Jess. So the first thing you do is you pick the smallest hole on your punch, and you punch a hole in it. And again, I'm not measuring this, I just do it by eye, so we do another hole somewhere about there. Right, so what you want to do, what you want to have on your Jess now, is you want to have your tail end. So again, I'll measure it for the people that are interested. What have I got? I've got 2.5 centimeters from the tail end, and then the 2 holes apart are 2 centimeters. The reason I've punched the 2 holes is because I'm now going to put a slit down the leather. So I start from the top on one hole, go halfway down, turn it around, go from the bottom hole and meet up. Right, so I've met up. The reason we put the holes in it is because it's supposed to stop it tearing. If I was just to put a slit on it and the bird pulls it, it can continue on tearing. So the 2 holes are like a stopper, it stops it tearing. And now you have a Muse Jess. So this is the one you hold on to the bird, you put the swivel through, leash through, and you can tie it to your glove and so on. So there's a Muse Jess. That's how I make mine, and that would be for a standard Harris hawk. I might even put it on my African spotted eagle owl. That's the standard size. Then we have the other piece of equipment, which is the anklet, which attaches to the bird around the anklet. And this is where mine differ slightly. I will show you in another video the slip-on ones that we use with eagles. Actually, hold on. To be honest, I think we've got them sitting right here in a bag. I do believe. That's what. There you go. So here, these are actually put in here. These are actually from Ashley Clark. So the idea is, with it, if I can pull it apart. There we go. Give me a second. So I haven't greased these up yet, so it's still a little bit stiff. There we go. So the idea is, it's one piece, and when you put it around the bird's foot, you just slip it through here, like so. Again, like I said, I need to grease this up a bit. Nice snug fit, and then you have it on the bird. I use that on our big boy, and we'll show you how we put them on in another video. And that's what we use on the big eagle, just because the jesses that I normally make, we can fold them over and we can do them, but they don't tend to last as long as these ones, because these are all stitched and lined. So I love these, I absolutely love these for the eagle. So this is one of the only few anklets we actually buy. It's the only anklets we buy is for our Stellar Sea Eagle. We put our own equipment and everything on the Steppe Eagle. This is for the Stellars. So the normal way of doing my anklets, again, leather, one doesn't give, one does give. So I'm going to make these again just for Harrisock size. I'm saying Harrisock size because it's, to be honest, it's one of the most popular birds out there. So when I say Harrisock size, you know the size of bird and so on. But it does change again for our falcons. And I've over the years I've gone smaller on anklets again. This is why I don't tend to use these, because they tend to be really big and bulky on the birds. Too big and bulky in my opinion. But when you put, this is actually for a golden eagle. So I've got it on a Stellars. So again, I've got a bigger bird than the golden eagle, but I use a golden eagle size because there's no need to go big. So I'm going to make it for a Harrisock, and your sizes might differ slightly, but this is what I do. So for a Harrisock thickness anklet, I don't use anything bigger than about, let's say about that thick. I used to use them a lot thicker, but there's no need for it. If it's too thick, like I say, it can cause sores in the birds and so on. So that's how thick an anklet will be. Again, for anybody that's interested, I'm going to measure it, and it's just what we got, 15 mil. So that's how thick it is. And this size here would use for my Harrisocks, I've used for my peregrine, my spotted eagle, before she passed away, my Frisian buzzard, all that kind of thing. So it doesn't need to be really big for the bird, because again, if it's too big, it might rub in the back sore, or the back toe shoots out, toe and cause a sore, or it could go too high up and rub at the joint on the bird. So that's how thick it is. So that's 15 mil, that one. But there's a couple of things you've got to remember when you're making up anklets. So I'm just going to cut this in half, because this is when we make 2 anklets. And again, rough side, smooth side. This time it's the smooth side that will go against the bird. So let's say that's the bird's leg, so it goes in like so. So I could literally now punch a hole in it, and I could have it all ready to go in the bird. But I was taught, and it is true actually, some birds' legs are thicker than the other one. So if you buy standard ones, you tend to find one might be slightly tighter than the other, which then can cause a problem, or one might be very loose, which could cause a problem as well. So I never put any holes in them until it's actually physically, I've measured it round the bird. Even though I've got a bird that I've been flying now for 15 years, I think it is, I still, every time I put equipment on, because it happens, I put equipment on once or twice a year, I still will not put the holes in it until I've put it around the bird, measured up, then put the holes in it. But before we even get to that, we've got to get back to the leather. So if I put it down here again, the leather, and yes, I've cut a nice straight edge down here, and yes, it's leather, so it's nice and soft. But if your bird jumps in a bath and then jumps out, dries and so on, and over a period of a few weeks, you might find this leather might get a little bit hard. Yes, you can grease it up, and we do keep our equipment greased up, but again, this edge here could get quite rough, or it could get quite hard. So what we do, and it's something very, very simple, very easy, and it's amazing how many times we don't see people do this. All we do is feather. So all I'm doing, I do apologise for the camera shaking, but all I'm doing is like a 2 mil slot, about 2 mils apart, where the bird's leg would be. So obviously this is too long, but let's say if I do that, so now if I can do that, you can see it feathers out. So it kind of rounds the end off. And we have seen some people do it just on one side. So you do it up down like that, so that's on the back of the bird's toe, so it doesn't rub the back toe. But then you've got this bit up here at the top of the leg that can still get hard or abrasive. So do exactly the same again. So just a 2 mil incision, about 2 mil apart. So for the sake of, let's say 10, 15, or even 20 seconds to do this, there we go. It makes a big difference on the anklet. So we do it again. Now this time you may see, if I do it this way, bring it up here, you may actually see it's now rolled out both edges. So that way around, there we go, so it's rolled out both edges. So that way around, when it's on the bird, there's no way it's going to have an abrasive surface or a hard surface rubbing into the bird's legs and causing it problems. And believe it or not, that is an anklet. That's it, that's how I start my anklets off. Obviously, you have 2, the same thickness, but we don't put any holes or anything in it. This is where I differ from some people out there. I don't put any holes or anything in it. I don't like seeing, I never buy, again, say never, obviously for the Stellars. But apart from that, and these are the first pairs I've ever bought of these kinds. Like I gave them Ashley Clark, absolutely fantastic. But I've never bought anklets before because, again, it's so easy to get the size wrong, and I really hate seeing people have got hole punched ones already. And I've had phone calls asking to go and help equipment, and they've with equipment on a bird, should I say. And I've even had it when I've been up here in Wales. You go there and the anklets are either super tight, or it's the fact that they're hanging off. And all I get was, oh, I bought it for that size of bird. Well, this is why I don't put any holes in the bird, in the anklet. And you will see in the other video, the one that we've grabbed when my good friend Paul was up, the bird, you'll see how we do it. So that is the anklet, that is it. That's how I make my anklets, and that's what will be ready to go in. If it was, actually that's probably good enough to go in a harness, to be honest. So that would go in my box now, and ready, and be ready for it. I always like to keep a couple of spares ready, just in case, obviously we go in one day, something snapped or broken. So that's it, that's how easy it is. That's how easy it was to make a Jess. And then a flying Jess or a hunting Jess, and turn it into a Muse Jess with a slit or a hole in it. We do use permanent flying straps, but we'll show you that on a bird as well later on. But right now it's just, that's it, simple. All we want to do is show you today is the Jesses, or the Jess and the anklets, because in the video we're going to show you in part 2, it will put all this on a bird for you as well. So I hope you found that a little bit interesting, and again I do apologise that it's been such a long time since I've posted a video. If you want to, and you want to join our little group, join our little kettle, please do hit the subscribe button and you'll be the first to see videos like this. We are bringing up more videos of fitness training because we are restricted, or I've restricted the birds right now because of the bird flu restrictions we're in here in Wales. So I have restricted my birds' time out flying about. We still exercise them, but I thought it's a good chance to actually do videos of different ways of exercising and keeping your bird fit, and what we can do when you're under tight restrictions. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If I don't see you again, guys, stay well.